Hello, Bame Farm fans. The manure spreader is in the barn. I gotta take some time here soon and try to power wash it off. And we're gonna soak it in oil. It's not new to us. Well, it's new to us, but it's not new. However, it's in pretty good shape for the age. We're gonna try to keep it that way. But since the spreader's in the barn, that means that the barn is clean. That's what it means. Yep. So we've got straw bedding in these 3 pens, and there's wood chips over here for the biggest pen, which the wood chips look dirty already. It's because the wood chips are brown and not bright yellow like the straw. We're kind of getting low on wood chips. It didn't chip this year, but we got a lot of straw to use. Yep, you ready to eat? Everybody's ready to eat. Well, that's the next story we're gonna get to. Oh, let's climb in the silo, which it's gonna be one last time, because we are at the bottom. Oh yeah, that's our chandelier up there. Yep, this is all the silage that's left. One last wheelbarrow, and then what do we do? So yes, if you remember, we chopped silage not very early, because we spent forever getting all the parts to rebuild the corn head, the chopper. And we didn't get the silo, but shoot, we weren't even halfway up. And it's March 25th. And we still have at least a month before anything is tall enough to go out and green chop. So what are we gonna do? Well, we gotta get this last bit of silage out. And then we're gonna go see the feeding backup plan. Well, since that's all, I'll toss that out and we'll get ready to put the doors back in. Yeah, we didn't get this full because we didn't get as much chopped. It got dry on us last fall because, you know, rebuilding the chopper head took a little longer than anticipated, waiting on parts. Ugh. Pretty much have figured out, everything's gonna take 4 times longer than I figure in my head, or I can do things 4 times faster in my head than in real life. So, there's a door. There's the other door. We're ready to refill at some point with something. Well, let's give somebody just this little bit of silage to eat. Probably just give it here to the big guys, since it's not the greatest looking silage in the world that we're scraping off the bottom. Really, we've already been kind of transitioning into the backup plan for what we're gonna feed the animals. We are approaching the backup plan. Yep, a nice square bale of hay makes a nice square meal for a steer, right? So, this hay leaning tower of pizza fell over a couple days ago. It was actually doing really good, but I know what got me. You see this string right here? I've had trouble with this blue twine. I don't know if it's mice like to chew through it. I never had issues in the field. That's why I went to the blue twine, because it was heavier. It was a 170-pound test versus like the 135 orange. But I've been using 2 different brands of blue twine. One brand has been really good. And I've got the wrong cart. Dad has the other cart out with the chickens. So we'll see if I can get enough hay on this one. The other cart doesn't have sides. So I've been feeding the lovely second cut hay to the cows. I'm all out of the first cut. So now we're down to second cut. So it's a good thing hay season just kept going and was really good last year. I got a bunch of, I don't know about extra, but a solid amount of hay to keep them fed. And I need to get 4 bales on here, hopefully. Oh, just grab them off the top. Hopefully we don't run out of this. Now, feeding the dry hay has been wonderful for manure consistency. And I love feeding dry hay to the cattle because it makes the manure wonderfully solid. So like, the farming life, I visited Eric once, and he always raised or fattened out Angus, and he had a few Holsteins one time, and he said he didn't like the dairy animals because their manure was runnier, which that might be true, but I know you can force it to be solid by feeding them lots of dry roughage, which the hay is definitely dry. This goes all the way back to, like, we chopped wheat last summer, and the wheat was a little mature and dry. I mean, we didn't have too much slurry for manure at all last summer, even when it was hot and dry. So the nice thing about feeding, you know, all this dry forage to the cattle, even the silage was the corn silage was kind of dry. The nice thing about it is that when they drink water, they have to drink water for their dietary needs, instead of just drinking water because they're hot. So they're doing more than just cooling down. Which in the summer when we're feeding green chop, yeah, they'll have a real wet manure mess because they're drinking water to cool off, and they don't necessarily need it because the grass is green and wet. They don't need it to digest anything, and they don't need it, say, for their own you know, internal water usage. They're just drinking and peeing to cool off. That'll make their manure a mess. But if you feed them a lot of dry forage, well, the forage will absorb that water and keep their manure nice and dry-ish. Who's ready to become a steak? Red, you're pretty close. Now some of the second cut I'm feeding I know has a small bit of sage grass in it. Because you can see the little bit of fluff there. That's why we're feeding them the hay, and then they poop and make manure, and we spread the manure. And that'll end up making the sage grass grow even better. Probably can't fertilize the sage grass away. There's that tidbit for you. I see all these forums online, and they're like, yeah, I've got sage grass, how do I get rid of it? And everybody tells them to fertilize, fertilize, fertilize. Like, once you've got it, you're best off planting corn or beans, spraying to kill it, and yeah, after 10 years you might get rid of it, but you're not going to fertilize one year and be rid of the sage grass. I know that much. That's almost like trying to, what's the saying? Starve a fever, feed a cold, or something. I don't know. I mean, fertility, I'm sure, will help keep it from getting started. But yeah, let's throw fertilizer at a plant. I'm sure fertilizer will keep a plant from growing, right? Okay, yeah, we'll throw a little bit on top of this silage, even though you really don't need it, just to make you guys feel good. So yes, the better hay's in the squares. The round bales, they get free choice all the time. And there's a bit to pick through on there. But a lot of the hay I bale, folks are happy to have their former horse pasture mode so they don't have to bush hog it because they got rid of the horse 5+ years ago. Okay, you little guys ready? Yeah, you've picked through the remnants of the silage. We ended up with a handful of jerseys. And we'll see how they taste. I'm sure they'll eat just like a Holstein. Everybody's got to eat. And the cows eat what we can't. Who wants to eat grass? It smells good, but I don't think it tastes the way it smells, unfortunately. And because we fed a half orbital of silage, there's a half a bale left, but typically... Let's see, and then on top of the hay, we're gonna dress the salad with a grain mix, which is our own non-GMO corn and roasted soybeans. Throw in some salt and mineral, and voila, a balanced dressing for their dry salad mix of grass. And of course the feed box is getting low. A few things that are always bound to happen around the farm. The grease gun's empty, the feed box is probably almost out, and the tea pitcher is probably empty too. But 2 buckets is enough. We can finish this pen off. There you go, guys. Grain, grain, more grain, what you've all been waiting for. And they'll probably eat some grain off the top, but with the hay, the grain will fall through. So that way there's grain left after they finish the hay. Or they'll just take their head and push it all out of the way to get to the grain at the very bottom.